Hello and welcome back. My name is Steve. You've come upon Dying of Exposure's YouTube channel, and my guess is you're here because you also like Dimension 20 Fantasy High Junior Year. Welcome to Free Period, a series where I talk about some of my favorite things that happen episode to episode. Guess what? We've got spoilers for last week's episode, Untapped Rage, and so if you haven't watched that yet, maybe pause the video and go watch it. There's a 0% chance you're seeing this and haven't seen that, but I will be spoiling it and a lot of the other Fantasy High Junior Year episode of this season, so come back. If you like what I have to offer, feel free to hit that subscribe, hit that like button, comment below. Even if you dislike it, feel free to hate watch this. That's also valid. That's your prerogative. Tap into your rage as we discuss Untapped Rage, Fantasy High Junior Year. So like last week where I talked about the combat, this week I'm going to talk about the academics, and specifically I'm going to talk about the teacher feedback forms. What I like about the teacher feedback forms specifically is that they are the denouement, they are the dessert, they're the icing on the cake of one of the best things of Fantasy High Junior Year season, which is that academics deeply matter. Now, Fantasy High Junior Year has always been focused on the adventuresome, mystery, save the world aspects of it, and it is perfectly in-world appropriate that Arthur Eggfort's Academy for Adventurers does not care that you follow the rules and go to class. But this was an opportunity in the third season to really make it matter. So why do I love the feedback teacher sheets so much? Is it because I've worked in corporate America and I've had annual reviews and I have to give them to my own bosses? Certainly that's part of it. But what I love about them is that they are the story closure and the absolute release of the pressure that has been accurately applied to the photosynthekids since around episode 3, end of episode 2. So essentially 2/3 to 3/4 of the season. Obviously, if you're watching this and you've watched that, you know about the downtime activities and the increasing DCs. Many of the photosynthekids, they've had multiple academic tracks, so they're burning a couple of those DCs just trying to pass their classes. And then things like Adai needing extra money, or of course Gorgug having 4 of them, which is buck wild. But why I wanted to bring this up is that the teacher feedback forms are like the logical conclusion of celebratory victory lap to the Last Stand's questions, because those quiz questions were traumatic, but the forms, those were for bits. And some of them use them for bits, especially Emily, and Murph through Emily with their feedback forms. But even they all kind of sketched and wrote private jokes to Brennan that he could not help but read out when it comes to Fabian, when it comes to Adine and such, on what they felt. They took it seriously as a feedback form, even though it didn't have mechanical benefits. The physical handing of the feedback form. Now, for those of us that play digitally, you could also do this in a doc form, a type form, PDF that you send people and they can fill it out, what have you, and then they can send it back to you. But just the added extra, just like those quiz printouts made them tense, the feedback forms made them all laugh. They probably all worked at jobs where they've had to at least fill it out for bosses. Why does that matter? In a season where you had no less than 9 NPCs, 8 of which we'd never met before as teacher roles, or never met significantly before, as teacher roles for the students. You had the downtime tracks creating the stress and pressure for the academic side of things. You had a Last Stand, which is both in theme with Arthur Eggfort's Academy and in theme with the academic pressure and the quizzing during the Last Stand. You just had all of the pieces there, mechanically, world building wise, NPC wise, and you give them a victory lap for succeeding at that, because the challenge of the academics is done. Not the extracurriculars, not all the pressures of where they're going to go to future schooling, or if they're going to go to future schooling, if they're going to be able to stay together. Not all of the pressures of their relationships or anything like that, or discovering the mystery or the end game of this season, but just the academic side. And you need that victory lap, and that's what those feedback forms were. A masterfully done little mini conclusion to something that had been pressuring those kids for at least 2/3 of the season, right? At least 2/3. Because every other season, the academics took a backseat to the mystery, and then as a reward for saving the world, congratulations, you passed your freshman year, congratulations, you passed your sophomore year on your spring break study. When you do those sorts of things where you've completed all aspects of the role-playing side of things, and you've introduced systems, and you've introduced flavor, and then you've introduced little baubles, a la, a Court of Fey and Flowers and all the little, tokens that they received while they were playing it, and the little notes that they wrote by, there is no doubt that you're entrenching your players in the world. Actually physically them. I mean, we saw it again. The intrepid heroes all wrote little fun feedback. They took it seriously because they were handed a paper to do it. It's those added little bits that separate a GM from being good to being memorable, right? It's not that the quiz questions or the feedback papers were the most important thing about the academic track. We all know that that was the downtime mechanic and the way that it could give you too much stress, which would give you disadvantage on different kinds of skill checks, from initiative to perception to whatever you so choose, right? We know that that is the case, but it's the memorable bits like those quiz sheets, and it's the memorable bits like the teacher feedback that we're all going to refer to. It's important to give your characters on a big mystery season a minor victory lap before you get into the big deal. And that's the other thing, the timing of these feedback forms, because these didn't come right at the end of the year like they should. They came at spring break because they beat The Last Stand, so they might as well wrap up their year with the teachers, which is good. It gives them all the time to finish the rest of the things on their plate and, save the world from a resurrected rage god. Nothing super important, but now they don't have the pressure of the schoolwork, just all the other stuff that they've got to get done with the downtime. This might be the last downtime episode we see, and that would be fine. I believe there's 3 or maybe 4 episodes in the rest of the season, and the last 2 are going to be connected. So we've got, 1 or 2 more episodes before we get up to the big bad battles. The downtime mechanic has been solid the whole time, but it's the extras that came along with it. It's the physical tokens that were handed out for stress and for rage. All of these things sort of combined to add a little bit of flavor, add a little bit of spice for the players. So when you're thinking about introducing mechanics or gimmicks into your worlds, and you're thinking about running it as a GM, look no further than Dimension 20, Fantasy High Junior Year, Court of Fey of Flowers, all manner of seasons have done little things like this, but this one really hit it home. Really drove it all the way into the parking garage. And then think about how you could give your players little gifts. And they don't have to be little baubles, and they don't have to be minis, and they don't have to be dice. Sometimes they just need to be a paper that the player can write something funny on and hand back to you. We've got a 3-hour episode. We've got a 3-hour episode coming in this week on the 31st. Are there 31 days in April? The 1st? I don't know. This Wednesday, end of April, beginning of May. This next episode, it's a 3-hour one. And I find that I am stressed. I'm stressed about what I'm going to watch in that episode. So I'm going to bring something back. With permission from the artists, yes, I'd love you to follow my channel, but I'd really love it if you went and found these artists on their socials below, because this is the fan art appreciation segment, all the way back, probably about the last minute or 2 of this video. So make sure to look in the description, or you can see them on the video. Go follow these fan artists. They provide an amazing service of further broadening the fandom. All right.